This is FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. Get ready for the latest in film news, TV show news, and theatrical reviews. FilmBook's podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. My name is Chris Banks. If you're tuning in for the first time, what I do on FilmBookCast, I discuss the latest film and TV show news. I also review an in-theater film sometimes. You can find more about FilmBookCast on film-book.com by using the search term FilmBookCast. You can also email us at podcast@film-book.com with FilmBookCast in the subject line. Let's jump right into it this week. This week in movie news, this week, Scream 6 previewed and debuted in theaters to a $5.7 million haul in previews. The latest installment in the slasher franchise should have no trouble topping the chart in its domestic debut over Oscar weekend. Scream 6 is already drawing blood at the box office, where it earned $5.7 million in Thursday previews from over 3,000 theaters. That compares to $3.5 million the last Scream grossed, and it beats Creed 3's $5.5 million. The last Scream film, released in January of last year, opened to a $30 million haul domestically. Scream 6 reportedly cost about $33 million to make, so we'll see how they do in the gross box office at the end of the month, but exciting news from the previews. Some more movie news coming out this week is more depressing news, as I guess the Star Wars franchise has run into some rocky road as its upcoming Star Wars show, The Acolyte, finds itself the subject of a lawsuit. This week it was reported Lucasfilm scrapped Patty Jenkins and Kevin Feige's Star Wars movies. We'll keep up with news about it, but not good news for fans of Star Wars. The last bit of movie news we'll talk about this week. Do you remember Ready or Not? The possibility of a part 2 got some encouraging news this week from its directors. After the success of the original Ready or Not, directors Matt Tyler addressed whether Ready or Not 2 could be getting the green light. Released in 2019, Ready or Not stars Samara Weaving as Grace, a bride whose wedding night takes a dark turn when she's forced to participate in a deadly ritual in which her Satan-worshipping in-laws attempt to hunt and kill her. The movie was made for just under $6 million and earned close to $60 million at the box office. In a recent interview, the directors gave a promising update on the status of Ready or Not 2. While the movie is far from a sure thing, the two directors do seem intent on eventually returning for a sequel. They said, quote, "That is the hope. We would love to," end quote. We'll keep up with news about Ready or Not 2 if they actually ever announce an official sequel, but exciting news for fans of the original Ready or Not. That's it for movie news from this week. Now let's switch up gears and check out some TV news from this week. Who's a fan of the Apple TV show Shrinking? The Jason Segel, Harrison Ford-led series has just been renewed for a season 2 at Apple. The same producers of Ted Lasso renewed Shrinking for a season 2. The producers said, quote, "We have loved the engaging, touching, and hilarious world of Shrinking since the beginning, and it has been wonderful to watch as audiences around the world continue to connect with these big-hearted characters. We can't wait for viewers to experience what the cast and creative team have for season 2. Exciting news for fans of Shrinking. Some more exciting TV news that came out this week. What was originally developed for HBO Max by J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Bruce Timm. It's called The Batman Caped Crusader. Apparently, it's moving to Amazon with a two-season order. Batman Caped Crusader has found a new home at Amazon. The streamer and retail giant has handed out a 2-season order for the animated series. The animated series hails from Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves. It's set to harken back to Timm's 1990s Batman, which stands as a benchmark for the Dark Knight's animated storytelling. Comic book scribe Ed Brubaker is among the creative team and ran the writer's room and serves as Timm's right hand on the 10-episode first season. We'll keep up with news about Batman Caped Crusader. The last bit of TV news we'll talk about this week. Apparently, Amazon has the fantasy drama From Blood and Ash in the works. Ann Cofell Saunders will adapt the novel series by Jennifer Armentrout. Amazon's apparently expanding its fantasy realm. From Blood and Ash centers on a young woman named Poppy who was chosen at birth as the maiden of her kingdom who will ascend and bring a new era of peace and prosperity. Duty-bound to fulfill her destiny, she's also isolated from the world. She can only dream of freedom, even as she secretly trains and fights with her guards to protect the realm from the evil that took her family. When an extraordinary golden-eyed guard enters her life who incites both anger and her passion, it drives her to cross the line into the forbidden, and Poppy discovers that nothing in her world is as it seems. Now, Poppy must rise and fight to meet her new destiny, as every blood-soaked thread that holds the kingdom together begins to to unravel, and her rebellion begins. We'll keep up with news about From Blood and Ash, but exciting news for fans of the novel. That's it for TV news from this week. Now let's switch up gears and check out some international news from this week. Star Kit Connor is set to lead a cast in a horror film titled One of Us. Filming is expected to begin this month in Northern Ireland. Emmy winner Kit Connor has been set to lead, which will begin filming in Belfast, Northern Ireland later this month. It's about members of a family who begin to die one by one at a funeral, while Connor searches for the stranger in their midst. Another exciting piece of international movie news, a new Japanese basketball animation film titled The First Slam Dunk from legendary One Piece studio Toei Animation is set to debut in the European Union after its current run in Asia made it upwards of $115 million. The film is aimed at a broader audience than just the fandom in Asia, and it centers on a character whose love for basketball was passed down to him by his older brother, who died in an accident at sea when he was a very young man. It was released December 3rd in Japan last year, and it earned close to $83 million. Another piece of exciting international entertainment news, Upon Entry from directors Alejandro Rojas and Juan Sebastian will make its North America debut at South by Southwest this week. It's a psychological thriller about a couple traveling from Barcelona who gets stuck in an immigration control center in New Jersey's Newark airport. While detained in an intense interrogation, their dreams of moving to the U.S. and their relationship begin to unravel. Check out the trailer for Upon Entry. It's debuting this week at South by Southwest. That's it for international entertainment news from this week. Now let's check out some DVD home releases from this week. Women Talking is now available on DVD. Women Talking explores the power of female solidarity and the courage in the face of violence and oppression. Based on Miriam Toe's novel of the same name, the series follows a group of Mennonite women who have been victims of sexual assault by a sect of men in their small Bolivian colony. After years of silence, the women come together to form a secret council to discuss their options and ultimately decide to take their own justice. Women Talking is now available on DVD. Christmas Bloody Christmas is now available on DVD. Tori is the local record store owner who loves to party. All she wants to do on Christmas Eve night is to drink and get rowdy. Unfortunately, her plans go horribly awry when the local toy store Santa Claus comes alive. Instead of spreading cheer, Santa wreaks bloody havoc on the snowy little town. Tori is now faced with pulling the plug on the robot Santa before he kills her and the entire town. Christmas Bloody Christmas is now available on DVD. That's it for at-home releases. Now let's check out some movie trailers from this week. Jennifer Lawrence tries to seduce an introverted teen in a raunchy new movie titled No Hard Feelings. Matthew Broderick and Laura Benanti hire Jennifer Lawrence to date their son's brain out. Sound like a weird synopsis for a movie? Check out the trailer for No Hard Feelings. It's an upcoming comedy from Gene Stupinski, and it stars Jennifer Lawrence as a struggling Uber driver at risk of losing her childhood home. Enter the helicopter parents played by Broderick and Benanti, who put out an ad for a woman to woo their reserved Princeton-bound son. No Hard Feelings will debut in theaters June 23rd. Another movie trailer that debuted this week is a movie titled Ghosted, starring Chris Evans and Ana de Armas. It's a funny, romantic, action-packed story about Chris Evans not texting Ana de Armas back. It's written by Chris McKenna, Reet Weiss, and Paul Wernick. It also stars Adrian Brody and Amy Sedaris. There's no word yet on when Ghosted will be released, but check out the trailer for Ghosted. Looks like a fun ride. The last movie trailer we'll talk about this week, I'm actually a little late to getting to this, but Disney debuted the remake of The Haunted Mansion. Debuting July of this year, The Haunted Mansion looks like a really fun ride. Check out the spooky, ooky, kooky, and creepy ride of The Haunted Mansion. We'll be able to go in July 28th. That's it for movie trailers for this week. Now let's check out some TV trailers from this week. Barry Season 4, the last season of Barry, debuted their trailer this week, and it shows the aftermath of where Season 3 left off. Now in prison thanks to his former acting teacher, Gene. Apparently, the ending to Season 4 presented itself, and that's why Bill Hader is ending the series after Season 4, but check out the trailer for the last season of Barry. It'll debut on HBO April 16th. Another trailer that debuted this week is Season 2 of YELLOWJACKETS, and we're promised that things are going to get a whole lot worse before they get any better. The clip begins with the scared Van, played as a teen by Liv Hewson, telling a fireside tale about the wilderness. Also known as the unforgiving forest, the soccer team finds themselves still stranded in after the horrific plane crash from last season, calling it beautiful, violent, and misunderstood. Check out the trailer for Season 2 of YELLOWJACKETS. It'll debut on Showtime March 24th. The last TV trailer we'll check out this week is The Last Thing He Told Me, starring Jennifer Garner, Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, and so many others. It's from Apple TV, and it's a limited series. What defines you? That's the opening line from the trailer, and it makes it clear that one of the series' themes will be the conflict of how we present ourselves versus who we actually are. Check out the trailer for The Last Thing He Told Me. It'll debut on Apple TV Plus, April 14th. That's it for TV trailers from this week. All right, time for this week's movie review. For this week's movie review, we're going to talk about Knock at the Cabin by M. Night Shyamalan. It stars Dave Bautista, Jonathan Groff, Ben Aldridge, Nikki Amuka-Bird, Abby Quinn. While vacationing at a remote cabin, a young girl and her parents are taken hostage by 4 armed strangers who demand that the family make an unthinkable choice to avert the apocalypse. With limited access to the outside world, the family must decide what they believe before all is lost. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not a big M. Night Shyamalan fan. I appreciate his work. I like what he does with storytelling. But I'll never forgive him for when I was a child and I saw the trailer for The Village. I think it was made in 2003. Me and my friends snuck into the movie because we were like 12, or 13. The Village was entirely different than what I was expecting going into it. That's why I don't watch M. Night Shyamalan stuff, because he does too much trickery going on with M. Night Shyamalan. But I thought that Knock at the Cabin may be different when I saw the trailer, really not just because of Dave Bautista, but Bautista as a wrestler was severely underappreciated and really kind of underutilized because he's a dynamic performer. Dave Bautista is a fantastic actor. And so I was kind of going into it with that caution of like, oh my, I'm going to be disappointed, but also knowing that like Bautista's a great actor and the concept is really cool. So there's no way he can mess up this kind of movie, right? And I'm happy to report that M. Night Shyamalan does not mess up Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin is a very good movie. I thought it was going to be more jump scare horror when it's really not that way at all. There are moments in Knock at the Cabin that will give you that jump scare kind of altitude or vibe, but really it's more psychological and it's really more brooding than I was anticipating. It's a very brooding movie. It's a slow-moving movie, but it's also stimulating and satisfying. Jonathan Groff, I forget the first role I saw him in. He played an assistant, I think. But to see him now, and he plays father with Ben Aldridge, just a very good actor. It's extremely well done. The film is beautifully shot. It's not really, I doubt it was a hard movie to make because they're basically at this one location for the duration of the movie. So I'm sure it was a relatively straightforward production. But it was well done. It's not going to blow you away, but it's a good time. I kind of agree with the general sentiment toward Knock at the Cabin that it's a solid movie. I would give it a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5 out of 10. It's a good movie. Bautista is by far the best part in it. He's an extremely good actor. He has, I don't know if it's really just the roles that allow him to really give so much more than he used to, but wow, is it cool and really fun to watch Dave Bautista do his thing, because he disappears into every role that he's doing. He completely disappears. And that's my best, that's how I would compliment any actor. Is they disappear. You don't get Dave Bautista in this film. You get Leonard. And Leonard, from the first scene that Leonard's in, it's just powerful acting. It's really well done. M. Night Shyamalan did a very good job with Knock at the Cabin. I might have to go watch Split now because I'm just generally hesitant in watching his movies, but now I might have to go watch more stuff because Knock at the Cabin's a very solid movie. It's a good time. It's not that long. It's about an hour and a half, So go check out Knock at the Cabin. It's still in theaters, and I hope you like it as much as I did. Thanks so much for checking us out this week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of FilmBookCast. You can find more of my work on film-book.com. Just search for Chris Banks or FilmBookCast. You can also find me on Twitter at @CBanksy, SEE Banksy. I'm also on Instagram at @TheChrisBanks. If you listen to this podcast on iTunes or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode. If you're you're listening to this podcast on our YouTube channel, FilmBook Podcast, please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment in the comments section. It really helps people discover our podcast. Please also consider becoming one of our patrons on patreon.com/filmbook. Your support helps us create more engaging content. You'll find our Patreon link below in the description. If you want to tweet about this podcast, just use the hashtag FilmBookCast. Tune in next week for the next episode of the FilmBookCast. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you then.